No. I call the meeting to order for July 19th, 6 p.m. You could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any additions to it?
2 more seats, if any.
There's more coming.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted on July 19th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Announcements. The public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in this room, in this meeting room, and on our website. Public info.
See, it's been a long time in coming, but we see the town policy is on here. As stated by the town attorney and stated in several town meetings, we understand that the town policy is a contract with the employees of the town of Alton. If all the employees have not reviewed this new policy prior to approval, do you think that's fair? The other thing is there any monetary changes within the contract that you're about to approve that you either don't know about or been told about that haven't been discussed with the employees? Are you costing employees any type of compensation? I don't think this has been out far enough to be reviewed by all the employees. I've talked to a few of them, they've never seen it. I think all employees, department heads need to take it down to their employees, discuss it, come back with suggestions to the board on where they're going with this. And if there is any compensation changes, that it should be grandfathered. Because it is a contract and the employees that have been here for a long time have certain rights or obligations or things that they were getting and they're not going to get because of the change of the policy. I think that ought to be looked at and it ought to be discussed by you. There's already been changes to this policy where it didn't go to the employees. Is that legal? I couldn't say anything before because I was a department head, but I can say it now. So is it legal? Is it a legal binding contract with the employees that signed for that? That's a question you have to ask yourselves before you start changing things. And if it's been completely reviewed by all the employees, department heads to their employees, and then back to you of what the changes were and how they're written. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? And we will move on. No appointments, no new business, old business, personnel policy. Liz, is all the, got a copy of it?
Laura?
No? I thought we were involved in everybody.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe this is just a review of the policy, the recommendations that are coming from the finance source office. This was for us to look at. We discussed it along with you, especially about the health insurance, health benefits. The costs keep rising every year. The taxpayers pay 99% of the insurance costs, plus they pay close to 90% of the deductible. That was one of the areas that the whole board, except for Mr. Mitchell, because he wasn't here, had talked about for the last 5 years. There was discussion. This tonight was just a review of it, of recommended changes, not to vote on them, as far as I understand.
Right.
The town administrator was supposed to meet with the department heads to go over some of these changes. Once we review them, meet with the department heads. The department heads are going to bring it back to their personnel and just tell them what the selectmen were discussing.
That's
Mr. Roberts has stated that, is this a contract? As far as my understanding of the contract, it is not a legal binding contract with employees because it is not a union ratified contract. It is a personnel policy. And I believe we had this discussion with town administrator before through legal counsel, because we have not every year given the 2% COLA. I understand Mr. Roberts, and yes, something should be grandfathered in here for employees that have been here. I think going forward, though, when it comes to health insurance, is that the town's still going to continue to pay 95% of it, or I should say the taxpayers are. The town should not be carrying the heavy burden of the deductible, especially like family plans. It costs us right now, I think it's $7,600 or $78 right now. And we ask the employee to pay little of, if not hardly anything of it. I've advocated having a house savings account. If we're not going to ask the employees to pay any more towards the insurance, at least have them pick up 75% of the deductibles, and the town puts in a 25% health savings account. And that's, to me, that's not bad, because if they save their savings account over the 3 years, if they don't have any medical issues, at that point there, they would meet their deductible. But for the way our deductibles work now, and I know I'm skipping ahead of the policy, the town pays most of it, then the employee kicks in. My recommendation is the employee takes care of their deductible first, then the town kicks in. But if we have a house savings account, you don't have to worry about that, because that money goes right into their house savings account. They can use it for any health needs, whether it's prescription, toothpaste, whatever, as long as it has to go towards health. That takes it out of the
Medical. Yeah.
finance office, because right now the finance office has to, the employee pays so much and the town pays so much, and the employee pays so much and the town pays so much. It's a lot of paperwork, I think, for accounting procedures. But I think in this day and age, with the insurance costs the way they're going, we need to ask for a little more contribution.
Yeah, I was just asking if, because when we discussed all this, we were going to get the employees involved and the department heads were going to go back to them. That's
Right.
what I'm asking is,
So
did the
did-
employees have a say in this, and were they explained it all?
So you just kind of hit it on the second half of your sentence, like this booklet that you all have was sent out probably 5 or 6 months ago to the department heads. Do just that.
You know, if it was done.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is to the board is,
you want it sent out to all of the employees before even you review it. So I guess to my thing is you're looking at the changes, and if the Board of Selectmen are against any of them, why would we put them out to the staff first? I guess my opinion would be the board would look at them and see if there are any changes you're looking to make, and then get the staffs, these are the changes we want to make. What are your feelings?
I don't think taking benefits away from our employees is the right thing to do. I mean, you're gonna start losing employees. The more you start taking stuff away from them, you're
That's
gonna
right.
have, you're
I'm
gonna lose good employees
Not saying
over
taking anything away from
pennies on the
them.
dollar. No, I see what you're saying. You're saying to drop the deductible that the town is taking care of. That to me, that's losing a benefit to our employees. And I could be, I guess I could be wrong. I'm
Well,
just-
I guess I was looking on the private side of this. The people that have to pay this bill right here,
Yep. I'm one
don't
of them.
even
I pay the
get
bill.
this on the outside world.
Everyone here does.
And we said that for years. Government employees, whether it's town, municipal, state, or federal, are getting better health insurance than the people that have to pay the bill to provide them. And that you get an off balance where all of a sudden government is making more than your private sector. You don't have the people to pay for those taxes anymore. And all I'm saying is a family plan right now in the town of Alton, I believe it's right around $8,200 a year
For a family
for
plan,
family plan. No, I'm sorry, that's single.
17 something.
Yeah, it's like 17, between
17,000.
23,000.
Add on another $7,000 in deductibles. That's $24,000 a year. All I'm asking is they start paying, it says employee deductible. It doesn't say town of Alton's deductible. All I'm saying, it's employees deductible. Don't touch what they're paying now for insurance, which I think is 5% to 10%.
Yeah, but
A full-time employee pays 3.5 except your
3.5%
department head.
of the cost.
Mhm.
All I'm asking is they start taking over and it's phased in 3 years. If they've been here, they'll be grandfathered where it is now. But any new hires would come on to that point.
but insurance is a different meeting.
This is,
Yes,
We're not on insurance.
its benefits are in here
but we
and
didn't,
it's been highlighted.
yeah. That's because you're looking at changing your plans.
I went through the whole bucket. It's in here. It's been highlighted. So
The only financial change that is really is end of year payments as of right now, the proposal that I'm putting out there for you. Because we really haven't discussed the health.
and I don't
plan that
believe,
we're
I don't
looking-
believe we'd be losing that many. You might lose some, the other towns might pay a little bit more. But other towns are doing the same thing, cutting back on their benefits because the cost is rising so much. Last year, we had a rise in costs of health insurance over $100,000 in this community, correct?
Yeah. Well,
And what did they send us back on a check?
The recent one,
Sent us 2 checks, right? Last year.
I couldn't off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Workman's comp, we got a rebate for Virgil
Workman's comp and unemployment,
and
Those are
unemployment.
different than.
Yeah, and one other one we got a check for.
It's usually property liability, workers' comp and unemployment. Those are the only three that we get a holiday premium holiday refund rebate kind of a check
Right.
from Primex.
That's what I'm saying. We get
And,
a check back, so you can't.
but that's not health
So-
insurance.
Yeah.
That's something
It's a-
totally
It's a
different.
different,
And if we're not gonna change it, I would ask a new line item be put into the benefits department budget that says employees deductibles. So that everybody knows what the true cost is to provide health insurance for our community, for our employees.
Mhm.
Because right now it does not show that. And that's the only thing really there was a lot of word changes. That was about it versus major. I think it was only.
yeah,
A
it's,
lot of it's just changing the meaning and,
The
or,
format.
or explaining the meaning.
yeah,
It's just a few benefit things that we added the medical card as suggested. We looked at the end of year payments because I believe when we were looking at what it was gonna cost for a public works director, that was brought up from the board.
Mhm.
So I did a little modification to that, which is probably what Mr. Roberts is referencing, because that's the
And the other one
only
was the probation, at the end of probation.
for the police officers.
Yeah.
And then the
Right.
bonus personal time. I have a suggestion on how to modify that, where the employee will lose nothing. They'll actually, it'll be easier to track and basically instead of just earning bonus time every 3 months, you just get 2 at the beginning and 2 at the end of June, like in the mid-year, and call it personal time instead. Instead of tracking people's sick hours and modifying them as needed and. It's really all of my changes.
4.18.
What page on?
I'm on 15.
The regular personnel policy or the new one, the proposed one? And what page again?
Page 15.
15, 4.18. On 2 bills and stuff with boots and stuff that we buy, 150, 200 bucks, but this is saying $100.
$4.18 uniforms.
Because we pay a lot more than that for boots. I've signed the bills in there. They're $150, $180 boots.
Yeah, that's the
That's
original.
why I'm asking.
I didn't change that. That's how it was.
Then why are we writing bigger checks for boots then?
Maybe for their gear, their fire gear and not just their regular work attire. The fire gear.
Well, I
you
think
sign a
we either
lot.
gotta do some back checking there and change this, or, you know what I mean, fix it.
It depends on what that's for, though. If that's just for like a pair of, like Dickies that they wear on the ambulance or whatever, but their fire gear, we wouldn't make them buy anyways. Because that's fitted and everything, and that's really expensive.
This section 4.18 applies to all town employees, so it's not just the.
I know, that's what I'm saying, because
So you have some
through the highway
specifics.
I know.
department, I've signed slips in there, $150, $180 for both.
I know.
So
Like,
I don't,
That's why I'm asking.
I look at the manifest every week, except when I was sick. And I don't recall that of all the years that I've
Fact check
been
that
here.
for me. I know I've signed slips in there for that.
I know that we do reimburse employees for like the,
I know,
DPW
I know. it
employees
is.
go out and buy boots and they
It's fine.
cost
It's fine.
160, they're only
That's-
gonna get 100. That's what, you might see the full bill because we're paying, but we're only giving them the 100. I do know that for a fact, but I will look at it.
Mhm.
Anybody else? 6,
Page 17, 4.16.
I was just gonna bring that
on
up.
17.
Probation.
Yeah, and I think that's just to clarify what's happened in the past. That's the 25 cents that I was talking about in the probation. That's for employees. So we don't have to come back in 2 to 3 weeks trying to get their pay up there like it's happened in the past, correct?
You're talking about the highlighted yellow section or,
Talking about probation,
yeah,
page 17, 4.16. It's highlighted, as successfully pleading probation, employees shall be issued an end of probation increase of 25 cents the hourly rate. If the increase does not match minimum from the wage schedule, the employee will be entitled to the new minimum rate, because we've had confusion on that in the past.
Correct.
So that is towards employee benefits, so there's no more confusion on it, correct?
Right, so if the employee gets their end of probation and the minimum for that position is less than that, they'll get the minimum, whether it's 27 cents or, yes.
Because that was one of the issues that we had talked about. The department heads were quite upset about, and they would come to you upset about because they didn't get it. This should smooth that out a lot better.
Yes.
Then page 21, that is anything driven over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight will have to have a medical card. We approved that.
Yes. Yes. That was,
The only reason we did that was because town
5.3.
government employees are exempt
Yeah.
from that on the outside world. We felt it only right that anything over 10,000 should be required as any other motor vehicle.
And I agree, you should have it.
The last one that has the change to it that I remember is page 28, 7.2.
7.2,
That's the one Laura was talking about with the bonus.
bonus leave.
Okay, my suggestion is to eliminate that section. Because if you go back to the personnel section, I've modified the personnel to include these days.
Why wouldn't bonus leave be approved by the selectmen instead of department heads?
because they earn it right now. It's an earned.
The other one is 7.9,
Yes.
personal leave.
Yep. So currently your personal leave is you get
16 hours a year for a new full-time employee. It's more if you're here over 10 years, et cetera. Then you get your birthday as your personal day. So I've changed that to give you the 24, so I don't have to track your birthdays as well.
That's another tracking.
Mhm.
I missed your birthday. I'm sorry, there's 90 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Makes
if you
sense.
just give it to them, of course, they're gonna have a birthday. Then I did so again, for the 10-year, if they used to get 24, they'd get 32 because I'd add their birthday. See, then I said an employee can earn an additional 32 personal hours in the calendar year. These hours based on sick usage, but they'll get them 2 at the beginning of the year and 2 at the end.
Like in the middle, like June.
Give me.
Instead of tracking every 3 months, I'll do it twice a year.
Altogether different.
Just give it to them as personal.
Bit different than theirs.
Is that a different version that wasn't completed?
Yes.
But do you not have the same one as the rest of it?
No,
Well, we gave
mine's-
you a
mine's
few
worded
over
a
the
lot
last
different.
7 months.
His explanations are a little different on
Different than
his sheet than
you're
what you
reading
have
them,
in
and I'm
these
going,
other
no, that
sheets.
ain't what I got.
Oh. You might have had a different one before we updated it again.
Got the portrait, he's got the portrait layout.
Yeah.
He's got the landscape layout like you do. Maybe that's all it is.
Can you touch on 7.12? Which is upon completion of 1 year continuous employment.
So in the original personnel policy, at the end of 20 years of service, in the original policy, it has a section for regular full-time employees receive a week's worth of pay, 40 hours. And then in the salaried section, if you've been here 20 years, you receive a percentage. I believe it's 4% of your salary. So this is when we were doing the DPW thing. Some of the employees have been getting both. They've been getting the 4 week, the full week, and then the percentage. So are they considered like your salaried employees, are they considered salary or are they considered regular full-time employee? So it was brought up then, so I put it in here to highlight as we're making the changes, if that's a change the board wishes to make, or you can keep it the way that it is and I can reword it. But I didn't understand the concept of them being in both categories. Then we added a couple holidays. There's a couple holidays that we float on. I'm suggesting you just close those holidays because those are also a nightmare factor. Then you gotta know who's here and who's not across all departments.
Section is that?
Holidays, let me look. I don't know if I highlighted it. Maybe I didn't highlight that one. I'll put it on the section. Find it. I think mine's on the back of this one. So currently we have 2 floaters. It is, I believe it's Civil Rights Day and President's Day.
Columbus Day is a
Oh, Columbus Day. So it's Columbus Day and President's Day now, and Civil Rights Day. They were normally, those are floaters. I'm requesting to change them to be closed. Most of them are Mondays.
Mhm.
So I sit around and wait to see who's here to submit payroll or who's not. Because you can choose whether you come or not.
President's Day and
Columbus and Civil Rights Day.
But wouldn't it be, if they're not going to show up, if it's going to be a floater, shouldn't they allow the department head to know that they're not showing up? And if the department head's taking off, shouldn't they get the payroll into you by Friday afternoon then?
It's
It's a float. I mean, it's a floater. Go ahead. I don't.
it's always
But even as a floater, if they're not going to come in for it, they should at least allow the department head to know they're not showing up. Is that correct? I say leave it as a floater.
It's been
Well,
it's an optional thing to have a skeleton crew where everybody shows up. The employee gets paid for it one way or the other. They get paid for it on that day if they take that day off as a state and federal observed holiday, or they get an extra 8 hours at the end of the year if they work that day.
it's also been that,
So there's a little bit of savings there if you just close it, rather than having the skeleton crew. And these particular holidays, a lot of people that are coming in see to the town government, to the different.
To do any business.
Right, it's crazy. And then, we have had some times, especially for Columbus Day, where a lot of the departments, they all decided not to work. So the whole department, is closed down. It's confusing.
But usually,
It's confusing to the people in the town. It's confusing to the employees.
usually you trade Columbus Day for the day after Thanksgiving. Usually.
So in order to try to save some end of the year expenditures and what everybody else is doing, is to just close for those 2 holidays.
Or get rid of the Columbus Day and just give the one.
Well, you don't want to start taking holidays away from the employees. Selectmen.
No, like Liz says, you get it one way or the other. Either you're not here that day or you take a different day off. You're gonna get it either way.
Or if you don't take a different day off, you get paid for it at the end of the year anyway. So there's.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because the day after Thanksgiving ain't a holiday.
No, but the Board of Selectmen have designated it as a holiday, as many municipalities have across New Hampshire and probably the entire.
Sorry.
So for years and years, long before I started here, the day after Thanksgiving has always been closed.
That's another
Trade
government
Columbus
thing.
Day for it.
Oh,
We can talk about the new federal holiday, Juneteenth Day.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Do we want to add that to the list?
We're not voting on any of this tonight anyway, right?
I'll
All
bite my
right,
tongue on
let's-
that one.
Let's
I mean,
move on.
Unless you want
Got a whole
to.
handful of people that want to talk, I think, so.
I'd say, okay, send it to people, the employees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it should, yeah.
Ruben?
No, difference of opinion, I guess.
Well, I guess you're skipping over the one I talked about the most.
Insurance?
Health insurance.
Well, that's coming up.
Well, we're gonna discuss that,
That's
right?
coming into a different meeting. That's why.
In
Right.
here,
We're gonna
I
discuss
didn't
that.
change it as much because you're looking to change it, but I can't.
I know,
I
but
don't
that's
know
just
what we're
kicking the
looking at.
can down the road because it's been over. I've been here, sitting here now 5 years with Virgil. Virgil, you even commented on it back then when I first came on.
Mhm.
So that's fine. Want to have another special meeting on that? That's fine.
We're still waiting on the insurance facts and stuff, right? And still going over it with the.
We're gonna have,
Police and
we're
stuff.
gonna have one more presentation from another organization.
So
They're
we really
working on
Are we
ours.
gonna have these?
Unfortunately.
Hang on,
Unfortunately.
hang on.
Sorry.
Are we gonna have these bids and numbers in before budget? Because we ain't going,
Well,
It's
we're,
gonna be close because the rates don't.
Don't come out, right?
If you recall, currently, Health Trust is our provider for health and dental. And we don't receive the contracts for those 2 insurances until
but
November,
we're also looking at different companies.
right?
Why can't we have all these bids in and tell Health Trust that we want bids in by September 15th? So we have them for our budget.
So this is the first time I've heard of a bid. So.
Well, whatever their,
Not sure you
whatever
wanna
their
do
prices or
the
whatever it
bid route,
is.
Just pick.
I think we should be going out and requesting quotes. We
Yeah.
haven't requested quotes and I thought we had talked about that.
We
last
did,
time.
we did talk about that.
Request quotes.
We are getting quotes, but the quotes can't be, they have to be based on last year's stuff because the new rates are not out for anybody to give us a specific quote on our needs.
So
But
if
they
we're-
have been here. We've had 2 presentations already.
Well, that's what got me thinking about, because the guy said we'll be in late October, November when he comes back in for us. Why can't we push them up and say, we need them by September 15th, we need the quotes. So we have it for our budget season, so we know what we're budgeting for. And I don't wanna budget so much for it and then find out we either ain't got enough or we got way too much in there. If they wanna sell us insurance, they'll put it together.
So is that a directive from the board that asks the town administrator what, get us present quotes?
We can
Yes,
certainly try.
Let's try it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'd like to have it for budget season.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's
Find out
important.
what we're doing.
So we have everything before us before we make final
Yeah.
decisions.
All right. Now we,
So-
can I get a consensus to send that to people, to the employees?
No problem, sir.
I'm fine. Employees can take a look at this.
Oh, fine.
I'll send it to legal as well. Do you want it to go to legal? Okay.
Number two, discipline complaint policy.
Okay, so
Yeah, this is the one that you originally adopted on March 8th.
Mhm.
on page 4, you'll see the red. It was just an addition to include a complaint regarding the town administrator section.
That was based on legal counsel recommendation.
Okay.
And it's already been to legal and he's reviewed it.
And in fact, this has been reviewed by legal counsel.
It has.
Yes.
I had no problem with that.
It-
That protects the employee and the town administrator.
Yes, I agree with it.
Yeah, and that gives them the right to come in front of us if they don't. feel
That's
they
correct.
Treated fair.
That's right, but if it's malicious from the employee, it also gives
And
the
it goes-
selectman the right to dismiss it.
The other side,
Yes.
that's right.
No, I agree with this.
So a motion is needed to approve this amendment.
Chairman, make a motion to approve the amended section of complaint procedure for the town regarding the town administrator. Do you need the whole thing read into the
No,
motion?
You can just say as presented.
It's presented on the bottom, the paragraph of page 4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minimum, maximum chat, number 3, discussion.
I asked that this be put onto the agenda to be brought up again for you to reconsider adding a percentage to the minimum and maximum columns of the minimum and maximum chart in order to keep up with the consumer, not necessarily the consumer price index, but with inflation. And I asked Laura to take the existing chart and add different percentages for your consideration. This happened a few years ago where the board decided not to issue COLA to the employees. And I asked them to consider at least adding an average 2% to the minimum maximum chart, and the board agreed. And that's what I'm recommending that you do to this chart. This is for next year, for 2022.
So this chart is adding in the yellow or orange, the 2%.
Whatever we decide.
Right, whatever you decide, the pinkish reddish column is if you decide to increase it by 1%, green is 1.5, and so on and so forth.
We ran into this problem before that. End up, we, new hires
Mhm.
are coming in and we're not gonna have enough money there. They're not gonna wanna work. All towns are going through it, that you gotta keep this up. So the employees stay above it. So you're not hiring people above the employees, but you're hiring them on a scale,
On a scale.
I mean,
It's for recruitment
yeah,
purposes,
so we stay up with the time.
or at least
Fall behind
try.
again.
Mhm.
Let's try to. Paul, you weren't on the board. Actually, Virgil, you're the only one here that was on the board in 2016 that remembers the outrageously low
That we went through, yeah.
rates of, yeah, it was
Okay.
awful.
We having a heck of a time.
High turnover, no one was applying.
No one was coming in looking
because
for
it was
jobs.
Like $12 in coin change for a truck driver. I mean, it was really, just couldn't get anybody.
I would say 1.5. That we 5% maximum. Second.
I'll second it for discussion, really, just so we can talk about it here.
Keeps it up on that scale.
Well, it's getting harder and harder to hire people. And if you do, the people that wanna work are either working for somebody already, or you can't, we don't have a wage to bring in a truck driver. You can't pay a truck driver $18 an hour now because somebody else is paying them 25. So it's hard. I mean, and we don't want to get caught where I guess where it was before, where
You can't hire anybody.
where you can't hire anybody either. But you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to have to hire somebody and pay him more than a guy that's been here 5 years already.
Did you get your second, Virgil?
Huh?
Did you get
I
your
did
second?
second it. Yeah, I did second it.
The. Still. What a maximum of 3. So it's still right in that ballpark.
Talking about truck driver?
Yeah.
Yeah. 23.45. No, 23.21. Yeah. 23.21.
So right now, the maximum is 23.21. That's the white column.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's what I just
Yeah.
mentioned.
For discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now, number 4, Church Street, School Street, road reconstruction status update.
I asked the Public Works
Can I get
Director.
Mr. Kidman and Courtney up here, please? Welcome to the nightmare.
Do you want to start?
You can go ahead and start.
Okay.
Let Courtney start because the project started, just to give a little bit of background, the project started with water. So, and it's slowly transitioning into some drainage work. So I can follow up on a little bit of that. And I'll be perfectly honest, Courtney has been very much intricate as far as monitoring this all the way through, and she's done a great job at keeping me in the loop about this, and I've been present as well. But as I have told the board, I'm not a water superintendent or have a background in water, so I'm learning, and she's a great teacher as well, so I understand what's going on and what different things have happened. So I'm gonna let her go ahead and give you a rundown relative to the water installation. So
Okay.
I'll put you on the spot.
Starting with the good news, we have about 2,100 feet installed between Main and Church Street as of today. As a lot of the audience is probably here and already knows, we've had our fair share of difficulties with this project. As much as I don't want to admit it, my crew has been on site for the majority of the project, either turning the main off and on, responding to abandoned corporations that were left onto School Street. Right now, the status that we have is, let me just pull up this email real quick. As of July 19th, we had 1,300 feet of main installed. A total of 4 services were hit, 3 were abandoned, and 1 was live. Although they were abandoned, they were still active because the corporation was still connected to the main with a whip of some sort of material, whether that was a lead pigtail connected to a galvanized service, a copper service, or a CTS service. They were able to dig through that and essentially grab that piece of pipe and pull it right out of the cast iron main. These all required a small shutdown in which my crew responded to, and for the most part, we were able to shut off the water, repair the leak, and get the water turned back on within an hour. So, you know, most of these projects, the gold standard is 4 to 6 hours. That's kind of the number we stick to as far as water being shut off, responding to the leak, making an adequate repair. Each situation's been different. The live service, obviously, that needed to be repaired because we needed to get the customer service. The other ones, we were able to essentially put a Band-Aid on it and carry on. The 4-inch main at School and Main Street intersection was capped. And what happened, the excavator, I was actually on my way back from the hospital because one of the selectmen was in the hospital. And when I went by, there was a geyser in the middle of School Street. What had happened was that 4-inch cast iron main was capped. The excavator had used the heel of its bucket and pushed down on that and broke the 4-inch main in half. That again, an hour shutdown, 2 hours top. We were able to fix that and carry on and make the connection at School and Main Street. In that 1,300 feet that was installed, we've had 4 or 5 leaks. My crew and assisted with the installation of the first hydrant. Basically, to put into perspective, we started at the School Street bus loop and worked our way out. Upon the first hydrant at, I think it's 33 School Street, we had to assist with, basically we thought it was startup problems. You know, you get a crew in there just learning how things are going. So we assisted with we use alpha hydrants, which basically we use them because I have a small crew. So having somebody in the excavator and someone fighting a hydrant onto a main, it only has 1 bolt. They're pretty easy for us to use, and manufacturers now are trying to make it easier for technicians to be able to do things like that with a small crew. It was obvious that there were some green laborers installing the pipe, and we carried on. Fast forward, we went to our pressure test in which we charged the main. There was 120-pound static pressure with that 8-inch main. It was very apparent that there was a leak. So the contractor was brought back to the first hydrant, and both sides of the T for the hydrant were leaking. That was dug up. And unfortunately, when that's dug up and you have 1,300 feet of pipe in, the only way to get it apart is to cut it. So we needed to install what I call a repair coupling. We use them all the time. It's an alpha coupling that we had installed on that hydrant T. We charged the main again. They came back to pressure test it. Pressure dropped. This is before any air was put into the system to build up the pressure. So this was just static water pressure, and the pressure was dropping about 1 pound a minute. So after 20 minutes, we were down to 70 pounds. It was found that there was another hydrant T leaking. So that would be our second mechanical joint that was installed, failed. It was dug up with the assistance of EJ Prescott because there was some discrepancy whether there was a manufacturing default with the fittings that they were getting. So EJP came down and assisted with the excavation, looked at the fittings, and it was very apparent from all parties that some things were over torqued and some things were under torqued, thus making the Roma grip fail. We also had the intersection of Pine Street. They charged the main without any weight of the earth on top of it. And that blew that part apart. So this is just School Street. So we have a lot of time, a lot of overtime. I feel it's my responsibility now. We have a brand new main with 2 repair couplings in it. They are, by the manufacturer, safe to pressure test and use in the ground, but it's not the point. The point is that when you go in there, the things that I use to get in and get out and make a repair is not adequate for a brand new water main. So the intersection of Pine Street, we get to that Monday night when I left the meeting. I stayed there till 9:30. Okay, so you guys had gone home and we were still there. The contractor put together a manifold system. Basically, what we needed to do was to leave the existing main on, but still be able to tie in with a valve so we can, when we're ready, switch that over. So it required, a T setup. When we charged the main, Dominic actually stayed with me that night because I had to leave. And unfortunately, at this point, I feel we need to keep an eye on what's going in there because I've had to offer a little bit of expertise as far as, how to install things. When they charged that, the macro coupling was leaking. And, tensions were pretty high. So, naturally someone's looking for someone to blame. And they had basically said that the 6-inch alpha coupling that they received out of the box was missing the stainless steel band. It's a heavy gauge 304 stainless steel band, which basically reinforces the bolt so you don't lose the rubber gasket inside it. They said it was missing when they installed it. Fortunately for me, I've been taking pictures and I was able to look that picture up and tell them that that was in fact on that Roma grip, on that alpha coupling when they installed it. And basically what had happened was it rolled and it made it so the gasket it blew out because that stainless steel band was not there. We have not had a pressure test yet. So we have not done any services. And I think we're falling behind schedule, and it's very apparent that maybe things are going to start being rushed. Mistakes are being made. My guys and myself included were called in on Friday afternoon. I was actually in Maine working on my grandparents' camp, and we had to respond to another leak. The service that was on the side of the main on Church Street, there was a blue stake because we went through and staked off all the services because they got to dig them up and connect them. Instead of lifting the trench box, they drug it through the trench they were working on and pulled the corp right out of the main, again causing a shutdown. Now I know there's a lot of frustration as far as the shutdowns that have been occurring, and there has been one that was planned. It's very difficult with a small crew. The first thing I do when there's a situation where the water's out is I try to email all the parties up here that need to know, Scott especially, because he gets calls. I update the Facebook page and I email Penny at the office in case she gets any calls. If I had a larger crew, we could go door to door and tell everybody, but unfortunately my guys one's turning a valve in an intersection and the other 2 are responding. I was fixing the main on Friday while Thomas was turning wrenches and Dom was making sure he didn't get hit by a car. So our plan shut down for the tie-in. We had to shut down, but it was only 4 hours. When you don't do this line of work, it's anytime you get a level of service that you need to provide to customers. But when you only have it shut down for 4 hours, it's actually pretty impressive, to be honest. When I worked in Lock Lake, we would go without water unexpectedly for hours. The planned shutdown that we had, there was a notification on July 7th, July 11th, and the boys went door to door on Pine Street and School Street and knocked on whatever doors that people were around. And if we saw anyone, we said, please spread it word to mouth, But I can't deny the fact that we've had the water shut off numerous times for leaks. 20 pounds of pressure can kill a technician in a hole. Okay. One blast to the head at 20 PSI could kill somebody. We're working with pressures at 120 PSI. So if they have to shut the water off for an hour, we got to do it. We can't work on it live. We're working in sand. It's like the best digging that we could possibly have is on School Street. Unfortunately, when you're looking for a leak that we don't know if it even exists, that's the thing we're up against right now. We have almost the 2,300 feet of pipe installed, and we have a leak that we don't know where it is. So I'm open for any questions. I've probably overloaded you with information, but there's a lot going on that I think.
For me, I think that our water department's in there this much. I think we need to call that company in here. I think we need to back charge. There's no reason. They got the bid, we shouldn't have to be babysitting them. Sounds to me, she spent the water companies down there way too much. And they've got way too many problems that you can't trust them laying the pipe.
That's what it sounds like.
Gotta be, she's gonna have to be there.
Being a superintendent, I'm salary, so popping in and out and checking in on the work, taking some pictures of progress is one thing.
That's right.
But every time we leave the street, we're called back. We just had a department head meeting on Thursday, and I waited as long as I could, but I had to leave because, I'm a pair of boots on the ground, you know what I mean? And with 3 people, I mean, look at the crew that they have down there doing the works. I mean, we're very small.
Do you feel as though that you can't trust leaving the contractor there by himself?
At this point, absolutely. I mean, I feel that my expertise is very, very valuable down there.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, today, we put pressure gauges on School Street to get a static reading. And the plan was to see if there was air in the line, and that was messing with our pressure test. Unfortunately, by the end of the day, I met with the site superintendent, I guess, if you will, or the foreman. And he said that it stated 100 pounds all day long. I think we're great. I think we had air in the line and whatnot. And, unbeknownst to him, he never shut the water main off. So if you leave it pressurized, it'll stay there till you blue in the face.
Till that well goes dry.
So, what we're looking for is, it's probably a small leak. I mean, I don't do pressure testing for a living. I'm familiar with it. Ben Shibley was the one that came out and did it. I think he could do it pretty adequately in his sleep. He's pretty certain that there's a leak there. You're dropping a pound a minute. So there's something going on. They have dug up probably about 5 bells from the intersection to the first hydrant. And they redug all of their mechanical joints except for where we tied into Main Street, which I'm pretty confident that's my guys assisted with it. Everything that we've helped with has not leaked, knock on wood. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes, but after seeing that today, if I put pressure to something and I leave it live, there's no reason for the pressure to drop. So we are scheduled for a pressure test again tomorrow at 9 a.m. with EJP, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think.
So if I can just interject a couple different comments, because once again, I'm the guy standing on the outside. And that's the reason why I wanted Courtney to give you her, she's a professional and dealing with water. And water is a whole different animal.
Different
I will
ballgame.
tell you that, it's a highly responsible situation. I think that in this situation, me coming into this after everything was designed and such, I think both Courtney and I, we agreed that certainly there was going to be certainly some oversight and time involved. It's a pretty significant project, and, I feel, with Courtney being, directly involved, once again, it's a time consuming, because you could have an engineer that would be there the entire time. We have had only spot checked engineering visits, and that's once again to keep that cost down. Because as you can imagine, a spot check engineer that ends up coming in is probably, based upon what they put together for their contract, is considerably more than, what Courtney or I make per hour. And we're kind of, I guess you could say, quasi clerking the job, but we did not figure, and certainly even going into this, as far as having to do some of that, I think that they certainly respect and value what Courtney gives them for information.
Sure.
But on the other hand, we didn't plan on having the town staff, as far as her staff being, directly involved in as many of these responses. So we will be on Wednesday afternoon at 4 PM. We will be meeting with the contractor and the engineers in order to discuss schedule and just what we've just gone over with you folks relative to, how is this, how are we going to manage this? And if in fact, we're going to end up costing it back. Courtney and I have had a conversation as far as being able to, track hours and, time. And I know she's, been doing due diligence on that end. She knows what time her people have been committed into the project. So that will be an item for the agenda to be discussed, certainly Wednesday
Better
afternoon.
pull the company in here. Discuss it, because I don't think that the taxpayers should be paying our water crew doing their job. Somebody's gonna get back charged, and I don't think we should write them another check until they come in here.
I can speak on the fact that
Shut their checks down and say, you're gonna get in here.
the devil's advocate part of it, being involved in large water projects like this, you're always going to get back from the contractor that we didn't ask them to be there. So that's always, there's that fine line.
And when they're popping pipes and having leaks and stuff,
They're making mistakes.
then we have to have somebody there overseeing.
Yep.
Because that's taxpayers' money that they're screwing up over there. And you can't trust them to bury it if it's gonna have small leaks or this or that. We gotta have somebody there. And I think that company needs to be back charged. It shouldn't come out of the taxpayers' money or the water users' money.
I don't disagree with
I
what
think
you're
we should
saying.
ask Liz to ask that company to be here Monday night.
Well, I would,
Time is of the essence.
I think I would invite, either the town administrator or representatives of the board, if they wish to attend the meeting, they could on Wednesday.
When is it,
That's
That's a
Wednesday?
better idea.
Yeah, 4 PM.
At 4 o'clock. I don't know that, to be perfectly honest with
Where
you,
you
this,
meet?
I'm guessing.
I'm guessing your office.
We'll probably meet at the highway garage there, or we certainly, if there's gonna be more, too many people, we can always meet here, but it's a working meeting, because there's definitely been a few issues. There's been issues with design that have come up, and, there's some of this that ends up going on. I'm not pointing at
That's
Courtney. I'm
part
just
of any
saying,
job is, any project that you get into, there's always a niche in the work with the design or this or that.
Right.
Not pipe that ain't getting put together right, not leaks that are getting bypassed, not charging pipes, a couple 100 feet of pipe with no cover. That's when it becomes a babysitting effect.
Right.
And it shouldn't be there.
That shouldn't be happening.
It shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be paying our people overtime to fix that screw up.
Well, not only that, but it's taken away from the other stuff that they have to do
That's right.
around town that they should be over there watching a contractor that we hired to do a job. And nothing for nothing, I think that solely sometimes comes back on, you don't always hire the lowest man on the pole to do the job. Because you get what you pay for. And
I do want to remind you guys that the water side is getting the heaviest burden on this project by going with this company. That is and has been a huge concern of mine from the get-go. And it is, I mean, drainage is complex, and not to take anything away from you, but this is not a very difficult project.
But even with when they start putting in the drainage,
Didn't
they
have
have to go and shoot grades here and there to make sure that we're setting right.
Oh, yeah,
After
I
seeing
mean,
what's happening with water, I don't know if I'd trust without inspecting the drainage when they put it together.
Well, and not only that, Virgil, but how long have they been on the job right now?
June 17th was the first day of school. School was out. They reclaimed the road that fall Friday, which was the 18th,
And how many feet have they put in?
2,100 feet. As
Now,
of
your
today.
crew with you guys and a little help from the highway department, how much did you put in on?
600 feet in 2 days.
So let's do the math on that. And I'm sure half the people in this room are sitting here because they're mad because their water's turned off during the day, and you can't blame them. Okay, well, and there's other reasons, I understand, but I'm just saying the water, I mean, half the reason that the water's off is because of mistakes by a contractor that's supposed to know how to do this stuff.
How are they responding to their mistakes? Are they having all kinds of excuses or are they?
So there's every situation just is different, right? At first, it was, so I was on vacation the first week, if that's what you call it, but, so
Living vacation.
they called every day, informed us as to, what happened. We hit a corp, we yanked a service, whatever. We responded because we're the operators of the system.
Right, that's right.
And I feel as though there's always that gray area, right? If I say, Paul, go shut that main off and they break the valve, then it's okay. It's like letting somebody borrow your snowmobile and it blows up. Well, was it going to blow up, or was it just because you were beating on it? So I try to be the one to shut down the main, just because those are mine. I look at it as that's my asset. Things are going pretty good. They said to me, do you guys want us to shut it down and fix it? And we let that happen one time, and I sent one of my technicians in there, and the main was not off all the way. That becomes a safety problem.
That's, somebody get hurt.
So it was clear to me at that point
Can't
that
be
we
trusted.
needed to be the ones to be shutting that down. So that kind of set precedence from where we were going to go from there. Moving forward to today, we got a phone call. They ripped a corp out, walked away and went to lunch, and they were gone. And I actually have a picture of it because I was standing in the hole going, well, I guess we'll take care of it, So,
Now, did they leave a trench open over the weekend?
the trenches have been two situations that I can, we didn't know about, the intersection of Pine Street was left open. I, speaking to residents in the area, found out that, I was there till 7:30, and 15 minutes after I left, they packed up and left. And, the next day, they save 6 bucket loads. They don't have to dig down to, it saves time, but
It's illegal.
the deal was not to leave and to give an update as far as
Especially when you got
schools
sand.
being shut down. I mean, streets being shut down. I mean, people not knowing, especially emergency services, not knowing, that's time. If somebody comes in off of 140 onto the lower end of School Street and finds out that's blocked off and somebody's having a heart attack
But you also. got
That's a
kids
problem.
around the neighborhood, too.
in a school zone as well.
That sand hole and that sand collapses. And they shouldn't be leaving any trenches open.
no, there's no doubt they started out in a lot better condition than what they're in now, because once again, once they exceed their contract period, they're penalized on a daily basis in a monetary amount. So clearly, Courtney and I have talked about this, is that they're having these issues that end up happening because they're trying to step up the pace here.
Right.
Well, that's what
You
worries
know,
me
in the
with it.
first instance, they were always every night, they would bury the trench box and plate it.
Road passable.
Right, trying to save
You know,
time.
things were passable for the residents to get to and from.
Safe.
Their their residents. If in fact there has been, you know, once again, we've reminded them a couple times now that if they do have a situation where the road is blocked, they must notify me so that I can notify everybody else around, emergency services and everything, notify the fire chief, police chief, we do all that. But once again, at least on one of those, at least one time, if not actually two times that Courtney just mentioned, there was two of those incidents that was not the case, that, you know, we didn't get that notification. So they were, in each of these instances, just so you know, not sleep at the switch, we've called them on the carpet relative to that to make sure that they don't do it again. And we don't have, you know, we're not like the police chief, we don't have a fine book there that we can write them out a ticket and say, hey, listen, this is, you know, you made a mistake here, and you need to pay us $500, whatever it may be.
Right.
But I think doing due diligence relative to us tracking the time and those types of things, I think when it comes time here, that when we make another acquisition, that these things need to be discussed and hashed out.
Well, that's what
And I agree 100%, support Courtney 100% relative to how she controls the main. In my opinion, that's, you know, hers and your main to control and make sure that it's done properly and safely. And, you know, for the users as
Well,
well.
that's what's worrying me when it comes to the drainage now, because now we're going into, they get towards the end of that contract, they're gonna really rush it. And that's why I think that we're gonna have to go down and shoot elevations here and there to make sure that your inlets are right, your outlets are right, that things are setting right. Because I don't want to have to go back in there a year from now and tear it up.
Yeah, but who's gonna pay for that, Virgil? We hired these guys to do this.
Well, I know, and that's why I say we got, I think the board should, well, they make a motion, bring that company right in here or Wednesday or whatever. We all go down and have a discussion with them, because I think they have to start paying it.
Something's
Our
gonna,
crews shouldn't be tied up doing this project.
that something should be done. I don't know as though bringing them in here is gonna do any good. I think going there and,
Going out there
Yeah.
is gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
So you gotta have the people from the office, because they ain't gonna do no good to talk to the supervisor.
no.
You gotta have the people from the office.
Yeah, I would expect the owner to be there Wednesday.
I'll be there.
And the superintendent will be there on Wednesday. The project engineer will be there. Well, the design engineer will be there on Wednesday. I'm guessing his project engineer that he has come out once or twice a week to check in. But once again, he's just coming in and checking in. Everything down there has been through the GPS system that they have. They're doing as-built stuff as they go. So everything that they, you know, come in contact with, they utilize their system either between layout and once it's in the ground, kind of documenting that all the way through, so they know where each one of these locations are, and to make sure that it matches, or, you know, is close to where this is on the plan. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got a list of, you know, issues to discuss with them. This is one of them, or one of many. You know, we had a drainage situation that occurred, that there was we learned that there was drainage that had not been put on the plan, that actually came off of Pine Street, that we didn't know. Well, I didn't know based upon the plan, because it's not drawn on the plan. Engineer, when I spoke with him today, he said the surveyors never picked up on it. But I can tell you that added several hundreds, if not thousands of gallons of water in the downpouring rain Sunday morning, and flooded a residential basement and caused damage. So, you know, once again, now.
Is that our drainage, or is that they're sloping?
No, that's because of drainage of Mother Nature. You know, Mother Nature gave us the rain.
That drainage has been working all
drainage-
these years to be good.
I'm sorry?
Drainage never flooded that cellar before they started digging in there.
No, but when the drainage is in the ground and it just bubbling out like a bubbling crude, then that's an issue, because that's what it was doing. And we found the end of the culvert this morning. that was there, that's taken all the drainage from up there by the elementary school on Pine Street and putting it right out at the corner of Pine and School Street, which added to not only the rain that was coming down from the sky and in that situation there. Now, whose fault is that? Once again, we've put that to the
That's why I'm
engineer.
asking, because that drain pipe has accepted a lot of rain over these years.
I understand that, but
Never
what
had
it
a
was
flood in
doing
there
was,
yet.
what it was doing was running right out on an unpaved gravel surface and eroded it all out. So, these things, these things end up happening and we're gonna end up having to work through those difficulties. Drainage has been established from down there at 140 up through. They've gotten up to, I think they've done about close to 500 feet now of that drainage and gotten in 5 catch basins. They did not install catch basin number 6 today because of the wet conditions and the rain. And they need assistance from the Hampshire Electric Co-op because they'll be digging right next to a very instrumental power pole at the corner of Pine and School Street that'll need additional support in order for them to put that structure in. And now we need to tie in drainage that was not on the plan. So the engineer is working on what that remedy is and how we're going to incorporate that into the catch basin because it had not been part of the design. So that means that catch basin's got to be cored, drilled, and be able to accept that additional drainage as well. So there's a few hurdles here, and these hurdles end up having time setbacks. And then they end up causing some of these other issues that end up happening where, once again, they're on a tight timeline. This thing has to be done or was, set for the completion of August 31, or I believe, or August 30th. I'm not sure exactly what day it was, but after that, there's a penalty clause involved, and I'm sure that is certainly a concern.
You sure put a wall down that edge there, like Pine Street?
There, on these plans, there is no.
I know
no
it's
wall.
not on the plans. You always run into a snafu on a project.
Yeah, I
The
did
way
speak
I
with,
went down and looked at it today,
right,
and maybe the owners would like a wall there or something instead of riprap,
I believe that the town should do whatever they can
and
in
then
order
that
to,
Sellaway goes in, put a piece of curbing that we got down there, just to keep it up 3-4 inches to make sure nothing goes down in there again.
yeah,
Wall on
that,
both sides of it.
right, that does have a curbing that comes around from Pine Street around and goes down
Yeah, right.
School Street towards 140. And
Can't bank that much more. Way it sits on the edge of the road might be worth just putting some stone down there and putting a wall in.
right, the engineer will be alerted to that and we'll need to work with the property owner in order to make that so that, in my opinion, now this is where I sit. You can disagree with me and do whatever you want, but to make it right, my experience has been in all my years is that you work with a property owner and make it right. When you
Make
when
it
you-
work.
You disrupt their front yard
Absolutely.
because of a project, then
Come to an
you
agreement.
got to work with them. I mean, it's just like, when they did the work up on Roberts Cove Road, that they made sure that they loamed and seeded, areas, or they use, the wood chips, depending on what the property owner.
You gotta try to keep your taxpayers happy out of it. They didn't ask to have the corner ripped out of their property or flooded, so.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it.
100%.
I do too.
The original plans we did the walkthrough did not include that banking. But everything was on the right-hand side of that part of the section. When the plans came in, there was no catch basins, like Scott said. The culvert that Scott's talking about today, nobody would ever known it was there because the property owner has a culvert that goes across the driveway, but there was another culvert down below underneath that one. That showed up when they were digging next to the telephone pole Friday afternoon. Mr. Canellison called me, came by and saw me Sunday. I went down and saw him. And that's what he found out the cellar had gotten leaked into. When he got home, they were digging next to the telephone pole with no stabilization there. He made sure they got the dirt back in. But my feeling about the whole thing is, and I'm sure Courtney has, she's calculated all her time for her and the men, all the hours, but on any materials we've had to put in from the fire hydrants that had to be disconnected and reconnected.
a heavy running tab. I have
Okay,
not
and the one
done
out
a
on Main Street.
calculation yet, but
When the one out on Main
Keeping
Street,
it open for now.
when they crushed the cap. Okay. And then present that to our insurance company down the road and also to our attorney and say, this is the cost we've incurred from their deficiencies as a construction crew, recoup some of these costs. I wouldn't bring that to the meeting on Wednesday. I would wait to see where this meeting comes after Wednesday, and if things do not get approved or get any better, then start making that list forward and getting our attorney involved in the insurance company.
Yes.
Because as we would at home, if a contractor does damage, we go against the insurance company. If we do damage, somebody comes against us. Secondly, as a homeowner, business owner, whatever, you have a project done, you always have somebody on the site making sure things are being done right.
But I think we also got to talk to the company and try to work it out back and have somebody pay for it.
Somebody will pay for it eventually,
I don't
Roger,
think
but
we
I
need to-
think right now, let's get this project moved on.
Our project going in
And I-
accountability.
And I was so disappointed Sunday when I went down to how the roads were left.
Yeah.
Church Street with 2 excavators backed up with an iron plate over a D box. You had to have an obstacle course to get around. As Courtney was saying, emergency personnel would have had a tough time with any engines going down through there. The way our materials are left are just thrown over there on School Street, as far as I'm concerned. They could have done a better job keeping up materials, especially their pipes that they're using, putting water through. But I'm very disappointed in them. I would never recommend them again as far as this, and I'm at this point. I didn't recommend them before, but they did came in with the bid. On the water department side, it was higher versus the highway.
Yep.
But those things happen as we're doing business. We don't work with them every day. These are construction groups that come in. They're supposed to be able to do the job, but that's why they're bonded and have the insurance so we can go back on them. I think the meeting should happen on Wednesday with them. 2 selectmen want to go down. If you want more than 2 selectmen, you're going to have to post a meeting.
I would like it at least
I think you should
2.
post- I think you should
I'm
post it
going to it,
anyways.
so, I mean, we could post just in case. more than
I
two.
would.
Why don't you?
Okay,
I would.
Just in case if everybody shows up, or at least
When
3,
is your meeting, Scott?
4 o'clock.
4 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Either way, this has to be corrected.
I think we should. be
And it has to be watched all the way through, the rest of the way, and
Absolutely.
and somehow work with them to get this job completed. We still have to move forward.
I think you got to bring the company in.
Oh, yes.
Charge for it.
Oh, yes. I mean, this meeting will cover that.
What do we do for the residents that I guess with the flooded basement? I mean, we can't just leave them hanging.
I know this morning Scott and Liz are going to look into it to see where the responsibility lies. And if not, it'd be getting in touch with our insurance company. I believe at that point was the route that they were
Okay.
looking
I
at.
I don't want to
Right.
leave anybody hanging for that. That's something that,
Was it evaluated to see if anything like Servpro or something, a company had to go in and do any immediate cleanup?
Yeah, that
Sent
was
them
my
in.
recommendation that, that'll probably have to be instituted in order to make it right.
Yes.
Well, have we
Yeah,
sent-
absolutely.
Yeah.
Have we sent
Correct it,
Pro in?
versus, sending somebody in just with a shop vac. It's something that
No,
needs
no,
to
it
be,
has to be properly done.
has to be done professionally, and it needs to be done under the oversight of insurance, under the insurance side of things. So, and Liz might want to speak to that, but
So during our discussion this morning, there were 3 insurances involved. There's the town's insurance, which will be filing something with them. There's the homeowner's home insurance, which they have been asked to do that as well. And there's also the insurance of the contractor.
Well, to me, I don't think we
And-
should want the homeowners and let the
Right,
insurance
but
go up on something that
it's-
we made the mistake of.
That's, the insurance companies deal with this all the time.
Yes.
And they, between the 3 insurances,
Are we sending Servpro in before it starts molding?
I don't have an answer for that.
Just out of curiosity, that's what my next question was going to be is, was this a finished basement?
No.
It's a finished basement, so this involves sheet rock insulation? No, it doesn't.
No.
Okay.
it's a lot of storage though.
A lot of storage things.
a lot of
things-
stuff in there
A lot
that,
of stuff that got damaged, so, okay.
I
So-
would, I would think the homeowner would maybe want to start that and save the I'm not sure how it works in the insurance world. Save the invoices for whichever company is going to pick it up, or maybe
usually
it'll be
that's-
a combination
that
of
gets done immediately.
companies.
Yeah.
They come out immediately and get rid of the water and start the fan process and cleaning.
Before it molds
And
up.
before anything mold begins, that should be done immediately.
That's what I think, even if we have to pay it and fight the insurance company, I think that we need to get somebody in there before mold starts. Under an emergency order and put them in there to get it up, get the dampness out of there. It don't take a couple of days, mold will start.
I've worked with insurance companies before. Usually they want pictures. They want pictures right away, get the transfer of the pictures. And so in order to give the order to have someone like Serpro go out.
So-
Yeah, and I mean, I spoke with the property owner a couple times. He's already notified his homeowner's insurance. We've made notification on our end as well, as far as completing the paperwork for submission. So I have that to be submitted to the insurance company as well. We've notified the contractor to do the same. So where this is a designed project, I am of the opinion that the insurance companies need to be intermittently involved in this to figure this thing out, because there's a lot of moving parts in this as
Well,
to
and I
who's
agree.
gonna take care of what. And I agree with you 100%. They need to get somebody in there to take care of it for the resident that way. And I would guess that the insurance companies should be Johnny on the spot as far as making sure that they get in there and actually do that. And they'll recover their losses for the insured by coming to the town, or they'll be coming to the contractor, or they'll be coming to the engineer, design engineer, who knows? There's a lot of people that have fingers in this project that can be held liable in this situation here. So I don't want to, I'm not here to find fault as to who
Right.
is at fault. And you've heard me already say that we certainly want to do whatever we can. I mean, I was up there, this morning and delivered sandbags, contracted. As soon as he was briefed on the situation, he brought in crushed stone, made sure that they, we were
That's what I
taking
mean,
some other steps to make sure that happened. Reason why that overflowed, there was a berm there initially, according to the contractor, when they left on Friday. But based upon the magnitude of what this drainage that came up from the bubbling crude from below, along with the rain that occurred on Sunday morning, which was over an inch, it was 1.5 inches, I believe, in this region, is that pushed a lot of sand and silt and topped over that berm and went into that basement. So, once again, there's a lot of moving parts in this
And
situation.
I agree with you, but I think that we've got to get somebody in there before mold starts, before we go into mold remediation in there. So that property owner don't have to suffer. We made a mistake. It doesn't matter whether the town pays it now and claims it back on insurance, whether it's their insurance, whoever's it is. The homeowner shouldn't be suffering it. We made the mistake. We should have somebody in there cleaning that, Servpro or whoever, in there cleaning that basement now. It shouldn't wait a week for insurance. It shouldn't wait 8 days or 10 days. They should be in there now doing it.
Is that the board's wishes that I contact Servpro and have them send them to the address of the homeowner?
I think we probably should talk to the homeowner if before we start inviting people into his house.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree.
Yeah.
Does the board
Right.
mind?
Yep.
Arthur and Tammy Canelson up?
I don't have an issue with it,
Step
but
forward, please. Oh, would you grace
I
out?
don't think we've notified anyone yet, so we need to know.
Can't hear you.
I just
What
don't
about
think that-
insurance?
They
They
should
won't
have
pay
paid
because
them
it's been
over
touched.
remediation when it's in the means and
I
stuff.
don't know.
Evaluate that.
You should mention that. Why don't you mention that before they start?
If you didn't like your
Pull your
script,
mic over. Virgil?
Virgil, you gotta be careful with insurance because sometimes if you've touched it, they won't pay because they didn't come in and evaluate the damage. I'm just,
Well, insurance
making you
companies, some of
know.
them require pictures. If they can't be there immediately, they take pictures and you give all the information to them and then they
Right.
give you the green light or
but
not.
make sure you have those pictures if
But we're
you're
also,
going
all right,
to.
not that I got the
change it.
pictures.
But if the town's going in
God or
to
whoever
clean,
took pictures,
yeah.
But we're not gonna wait a week or 2 weeks before this gets into insurance hands.
And at least
They
one.
shouldn't have to suffer with it.
Courtney
No, I
took one.
agree, but I don't want it to be, more costly because you didn't, like the insurance could terminate it.
To answer one of the questions, I notified my insurance company today, and they say they're not getting involved in this. It's not my issue. It's either the town's or the contractor's issue. So they said they will step out of it unless such time as nobody wants to claim it.
Right.
They will take it over and go after whoever. So that's what they told me today.
And I think we should have Servpro in there if you don't mind.
And
Servpro
no,
or
not
somebody
at
in
all,
there to
because
clean it up.
the issue that's going on right now, I wanted to kind of go through the step, but not hold it, but the basement's still flooded with water as of right now. There's 2 to 3 inches in my basement right now. It's full of silt. It's got dirt and everything else in it. And anybody's more than welcome to come down. Ruben was nice to come down yesterday on a Sunday because he's the only one I knew to contact. He came down, he looked at it, and I mean, he was saying pretty much the same thing that, yeah, no, this shouldn't, and you can see where it just come right down.
Yeah, I was down there today.
It washed more of the banking out, which that's a whole nother issue. And went right around the corner and right in.
Yeah.
But alls I wanted to speak on that behalf is that what I remember was when we did the walkthrough and Paul was there, Ruben was there. Kenny, sorry about that. I'm not good with names. But we did the walkthrough. We went down the whole thing. They explained everything to everybody, what's going on and this and that. We got to that 4-way intersection and I said to, I believe it was Ruben, like, are we gonna put the sidewalks over here? Cause I ain't got a problem with the sidewalks over here. He said, no, we're gonna put them on this side of the road because we don't want to get into this banking because that's retainer. And I said, all right, good. So nothing's gonna be done. He goes, well, we're putting new curbing in there where the old pavement curbing is now. And that's all that's gonna be done on it. So I was like, well, I'm good with that. And then I asked about my daughter's house on the other end of 140, if it's gonna be straight out so that the people don't come out, because we got a 7-year-old granddaughter that's right there that they come whipping right off that intersection. Well, anyways, that was all said and done. That was good. I went in the house and I said, what happened? We're good. They're not gonna touch our side of the road. They're gonna put the sidewalks on the other side of the road, but all they're gonna do is do the curbing. That's what we understood. I've just found out they did a new engineering between the site walkthrough and when it went out to bid. We were never notified of that, had no idea. Anyways, they're digging. Nobody's saying nothing. They're digging, coming up towards us. Nobody's saying nothing. Everything's fine. We're thinking I was gonna do it. I get home from work Friday night and all the rock that her and her dad put in, all her plants, she had plants in there, even though they're plants that I tell her that whatever, but they're very sentimental to her because they came from her mother. And she's worked on them. They're gone. Everything's gone. And I went, oh my God. She didn't know about it. I didn't say nothing to her Friday night. You know her. So I ended up going on a call with a power company and I come home and I see these flashlights all where the excavator's parked. And I said, I pull in and she's like, you get over here. And I went down and she goes, did you see this? Yeah. She goes, why didn't you tell me anything? Because I knew what was happening. But anyways, long story short, they dug all that riprap, not riprap, but her and her dad bought field stones off of a farm and they went out, picked it, brought it down, set it in there. But they took every bit of that out. Plus they went right up to where the 6x6s, which are almost 5 feet off the road. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Nothing. The rain comes, washed out more of the bank. That's when we found the basement full of stuff. And so anyways.
I'll take over.
No.
No. I am pissed off. There's no nice way to say it. I spent the entire summer with my father doing that. Hand digging them, loading them, unloading them, placing them. We've been doing that. We spent the whole summer doing that. You all know I have plants there. I'm sure you have all driven by and seen me a gazillion times out there working. There's one rose bush that was up there that was 18 years old. And it was a running joke with my father and I because He didn't like getting skunned up mowing the lawn around it. So we snuck and dug it up at my mother's house, brought it down, put it on my banking. And it was there 5 years before she even noticed it was gone. But it's been 18 years I've been babying that. And I went out there and amongst a gazillion other plants, which whatever, that plant, I can't replace that. There is no way to replace that. And my father was just recently diagnosed with cancer. I can't replace the memory of an entire summer of my father and I placing every little rock, or my granddaughter picking up a little heart rock and going, Gammy, this needs to go right here. You can't replace that. There isn't a dollar I want for that. I want my rock back. I want my damn rose bush back. And I have a problem with, as I'm reading the contract that went out to bid, that it said that they're supposed to make every effort to talk to the homeowner.
That's right. That's right.
They never did.
And not to mention, if I had even slightly suspected, again, I'm not anti-progress here. I have been a complainer about needing sidewalks there for 24 years we've been there. I told Ruben on Sunday, I don't care if you guys decide you wanted to build a new town hall right there. I don't care. I just felt that we, at the very least, had a right to know that, yes, the banking is going to be taken out after all, and that I should have been given the option to get my own stuff off of there. Or at the very least, they weren't out in the middle of the damn jungle. They clearly could see this was all garden. They've been working there all this time. Nobody thought, knowing I'm sitting in that house or walking out and around all day, every day since they started it, to just go, oh, hey, by the way, we've moved on from water now and we are ripping your banking out, and plans have changed.
And I said to that gentleman down there today, the supervisor, and Scott was down there, I said, what the hell are you gonna do with this banking now? Where it's all dug out? I mean, you go from anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet, and they're not done digging back. They're supposed to be, I guess, still gonna be digging back. And he goes, oh, it's not gonna be an issue. I'm just gonna slope that right down. I said, you effing can't do that. There's no way in hell you can do
You ain't
that.
got enough there to get a slope.
No, I said, that's never gonna hold that back. I said, that's gonna have to have a wall.
Well, I think you gotta get with Scott and figure out what you really want for block or whatever. It's gonna need a wall.
And the answer to the supervisor's question, when I said, you come in here for a minute, look at my basement. He stuck his head in and he goes, yeah, it's pretty wet. And he goes, that's when he mentioned putting a berm right there. I said, no, you didn't. There was never a berm there. That was just all the debris that came out of the road over. They never put a drop of dirt in there as a berm. And then he said to Scott, well, I can just bring down a load and we'll dump a big pile of sand there. I said, no. And Scott was nice. He was very good. And he said, we could put some sandbags. I said, I would prefer the sandbags over that big pile of dirt dumped in there. I mean, you're gonna be up against it with this company.
Well, every time it rains, because they've dug that banking out and just left it, it's just a straight
Right.
straight
That's what I was
cut.
looking at
Every
today.
time it rains, it's losing more and more and more. It's getting back, like, you know, where the wrought iron.
A lot of the slope it, you're gonna be back in your driveway to slope it right to stay.
Well, you know, on
Half of the little 3 foot or 4 foot wall, whatever you're gonna put in there.
last week, my youngest was out in the pool. They were just doing construction. They were still working on the water lines, to my knowledge. And a couple of the guys had like yelled up to her, and I just assumed they were hitting on her because she's out there in her bathing suit. But they made the comment,
Like a father.
you need to be careful because the side of that pool just might collapse. And so my daughter comes in, she's like, what did they mean by that, Mom? And I said, well, I will tell you, I think they were hitting on you, but whatever. And again, I had no idea that they were digging that out, that's what they were doing. And I said, no. If my $30,000 pool collapses, I'm not the one that's got to worry about anything. And I have yet to go out and talk to them. I don't think they're going to be very happy when I do. But I'm a little tired of every time we get a sprinkle, I've got to go out there and rescue plants that are falling off. I don't know how far back it's going to go before something is put there just to stop the rain from washing it away.
We get, Scott, can we get you to go up and look at that?
He did, and they told him it's,
Try to
it's like within a
Get it
foot,
fixed somehow?
whatever, but I mean, it's
Yeah, I
just.
mean,
Well, I'm sure Scott's gonna meet with you anyways to discuss how you.
Yeah,
it has to be put back. It has to have a retaining wall
Yeah.
of some sort. And I
That's
did
what I
mention-
thought today. by
he
I
did.
looking
did
at
mention
it.
we need to make that determination. I don't agree at all with, the whole thing about the sloping thing.
No,
It just doesn't, it
You don't have
doesn't
enough
fly.
that's not gonna work.
So there's a couple different things is we gotta look to see where that curb is, and then we want to make sure we set that properly so that, and once again, and I said this to the contractor, I mean, granted, he's only the superintendent for the job. I said, we need to make these things right. And I mean, if in fact there was an issue here relative to the design, not calling this out properly and taking into account that there is a slope differential here, then once again, that's a change order. That's something that needs to be done and we need to fix it,
It's also if they're digging that banking out before they're ready to do what they're doing down there. They're opening that up because that banking set out just enough to push that water out onto the road instead of coming down the edge.
It's all live gravel.
No, it's all, yeah.
I
it's-
know, but.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that's the problem. is,
That's a
yeah,
problem.
They're not
that
holding
would've
it back.
pushed that water away from it. It wouldn't have gone in. the
Oh, yeah.
cellar.
right.
I mean, now we have at least now they've put a little bit of stone there. I mean, if they had the stone there, it would have probably
Yeah, I see
helped
it
out
was
Would've helped out a lot.
a little bit,
So is it stable enough that it won't flood again right now? If we get 3 inches of rain?
I don't think so. You move a rock.
So we need to do
Don't have-
something now.
Yeah, you move a rock on there and it just starts crumbling out.
Unstable.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, because I know you put sandbags and I know there's some things there now, but
Yeah, the catch
But this,
basin number
this isn't on
five.
the plans?
The,
I wasn't here for the sidewalk, so is this on the plans?
First time through there was never anything about a catch basin on my side of the street. And
Now
like I
there's two.
said, from the second one that's gone out to whatever, they showing a
No
section.
notification between the revisions? Is that what you?
Between the sidewalk and when it
Revision of the
actually went out
plans?
to bid,
No.
apparently there was a change on the design that we weren't aware of.
In which a lot of these people testify, what I not testify, but speak to is that when we did all the walkthrough and it was very good, very knowledgeable, they said, okay, here's all the plans. They laid them on the back of the tailgate. They asked us to all go through, look, any questions, ask the questions. Everybody asked the questions and from my understanding, it was, well, we just got to get this ready and then we're gonna be sending out the bid. And that was the last of it.
No, I understand where you're coming from. You can't replace that stuff. Is there a way that we can rectify that for you guys that
That's up to her.
everybody can be happy with?
Yeah, I want somebody to go up in their dirt pile and find my rose bush that is probably still alive somewhere because of all the rain.
And I agree. I'm trying to figure out.
Because
I
I
just don't want
can't
to see it
replace
get any
that.
worse.
Right,
I don't
and
want to
I
see it
don't
get
wanna
any
see-
worse.
No, there's
It
no
starts
dollar
taking-
amount I want from you people because I've lost a rose bush. I want the damn rose bush is what I want.
I should,
Paul, take it right down through and take a look at it.
Yeah.
You can't miss it. You
I
know,
will.
but the biggest thing right now is our basement is flooded.
And it's gonna
Yeah.
be
It's full of dirt and stuff. My wife and another daughter in my house has an immune system problem. So if it there's, you can't let mold get started.
No,
in there.
this has to be
I'm
taken.
not, I could do stuff, but I'm not doing it. It's
No,
not
it's
my
not your-
fault.
There's two things that have to be done. First of all, it has to be stabilized so you don't get flooded again. ServPro goes down there and pumps everything out, cleans it up, and 2 days later it floods again.
Right.
That has to be taken care of first, but it needs to be, the insurance company needs to have pictures, be notified, either the contractor or us. And ServPro or another company, I always say ServPro because I've used them, they come out immediately. They'll be there, if they get a phone call, they'll be either there tomorrow afternoon or Wednesday morning.
To me,
And they will start doing mitigation.
Are you okay with us calling them and having them come in?
Absolutely. I
It
just
can't
like,
sit like
I'd
that.
like to get the stuff out of there.
Yeah, no, I don't
Yeah,
blame
it
you.
needs to be
I
done
don't blame you.
immediately. Mold will start.
I
Mr.
do
Chairman.
have, oh, sorry.
Yes.
recommend that the town administrator and finance officer get in touch with Mr. and Mrs. Canellison, get their information and their phone numbers. So when they do call ServPro and the insurance company, our insurance company, that everything's done and documented, plus ServPro knows where they're going and who they're going to talk to.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, that has to be done. But pictures is what they're gonna need if they don't come out right away to just look. to view it.
I got the whole, I got everything video. Yeah, I got it all video.
I do have to tell you that we have one curb box left to do a main to stop on that street. We've replaced all of them, but
Let me guess, it's at
Cornelson's
their house.
is the last one. But that's a main to stop. So that's,
Yeah, that's.
you know,
the
going
first part's
towards the middle of
already
the
been
road.
fixed.
So,
Yeah.
and I've been in open communication with them about, and we, after today's events, we were scheduled to go up there, but we postponed it. As long as we do it before pavement, I'm
just
fine
wanna
with
see-
that.
And a
So-
little bit more though, to the thing about the company, whatever, was Friday, I happened to pull in my driveway or whatever. And as I was walking back out to the truck, I heard Steve, the site guy, said, hey, there he is right there, go ask him. And he had one of the employees come over to me and say, hey, is there any chance you can get a truck down here? And I said, for what? And I said, he said, we need you to hold this pole. And I walked around the corner and where that, it's an important pole of ours. It has a double circuit that feeds all the way to 106 and all the way to the Alton Guilford line, which would dump this whole town. What happened was they had it all completely dug out and the whole face of that pole was exposed. And they were
Just hanging there.
just sitting there and they had another, and they were a foot below our pole,
And it's right where that main that they've just found,
the same thing. So anyways, I said,
not mean, but
you need to get
Drain.
that hole filled in. I said, like, right now, I said, that pole won't go this way. It's gonna drop. And if it drops, it's gonna go. And
It's gonna take a
so they
lot
started
more with
filling it in. So they wanted us down there this morning. So I said, all right, I'll see what we can do. Of course, we got schedules and I was able to get a truck down there. Of course, it's pouring rain and we got the digger truck down there to hold it. And I said to the guy, I said, what's your intent today? You're not digging. Well, I planned on it. I said, no, you're not. You're not digging today. That ground's too wet. That truck's not going to hold that pole in that mud. I said, you're going to have to call my boss, reschedule it, and then we'll come back. And I said, please try to do it more than 24-hour notice, would you? And he did. So we're going down Wednesday, first thing in the morning to hold that pole. But I mean, that's just a little bit of other things that are going on down there because nobody would want to have seen that pole tip over. No, you're talking about 15,000 members are out of power and we don't want to hear it as much as we get bashed on that.
Probably gonna take a few more with it.
Probably. But that was just another thing. So I would appreciate it if we could.
Well, my thing is I think that we should have make a motion, send ServPro in to get it cleaned up before mold or anything starts. And you're on day 2 now.
Since Saturday
I'm gonna
night.
wait till next week.
No, we can't.
I think that we ought to give the.
But we also have
Need
to
a
have,
motion.
we also have to stabilize.
Yeah, I think we
what's
need,
there.
in that
needs
motion, we
to-
gotta agree to stabilize that.
Yes, that has to be taken
You're gonna send ServPro.
both at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Because otherwise it's gonna be just a waste of time with
So
server.
my motion is to stabilize the bank. I'll add that in and ServPro we sent in.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second it.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Liz, can you? handle it?
Do you think you could ask him to try to find that rose plant?
If that's what I was just gonna ask him is where are they dumping?
Should be right. The highway.
Highway shed?
To find the big piles of, the rock.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
No,
it.
I mean, now
you get a call
Aware
about
of
some
it. I
strange
will go
lady
down
with
after
her
and
shovel.
take a look.
you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Ed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
But I apologize for the mess we made.
Oh, that's all right. man.
Mr. Chairman, ask Scott a question or Courtney.
Courtney, at last week's meeting, you stated that they have paving slated for July 22nd. Schedule now.
I really don't think that basically GMI has been bombarded with rain, so they're behind schedule.
Thank
So I
God.
think they were able to maneuver it, to work together, but I don't believe they're sticking to that.
Okay,
date.
do we have the right
We-
to contract to hold up any paving until you are satisfied that the water leaks and everything are done and
Oh, yeah.
completed? And
So-
that's right.
That's just what I
So
was
how
gonna
the
ask.
next steps are, okay, we'll pressure test. If that pressure test passes, then we're gonna chlorinate for 24 hours,
Okay.
flush, and that'll become online and they'll be able to start on their services. So you're looking at, say, pressure test passed tomorrow, we're looking at 3 days anyway before they start services. Pressure test is 2 hours.
How much longer do they got on the drainage?
Oh, they've got the rest of School Street to do and all of Church Street.
They got a
So they
couple
got-
weeks on
they got-
that.
As far as I'm concerned, they've got a few weeks
Mhm.
to go there. I mean, I'm guessing they could have the drainage done maybe by,
First.
it'd be maybe that first week in August, they might have that. I mean, their focus was to get School Street done and then base pave it, and then they would move on to doing sidewalks. And, because they need to base that all in before they can set curb.
Right.
And then they would, they'd have all the drainage done on that one. They'd be working their way up Church Street from there. Then they would base that in. I guess.
Right. And Scott and I have discussed, and it was, you brought it to we both brought it to the attention of the contractor that we will not allow them to work tying in services on the weekend because of the inconvenience to the customers already thus far.
Inconvenience of the
I said,
customers,
everybody's
inconvenience for
home.
you
I said,
too.
you can't have water interruptions and we can't have,
What?
we're not. gonna
Every
have our
service
staff
does
get-
need to be
Right.
shut off
They've
for
got
a
enough, the
temporary
water
time to
department
get
to me has
tied
got
in.
enough time in there already.
So that does push things back. I think they were hoping to play catch up, on a Saturday. But I don't feel confident enough to, these folks are going without water at certain times during the day.
Right.
A couple hours. Everybody works different schedules. But for the most part, Saturdays, people are home. We have to work. Summer school is Monday through Thursday, Tuesday to Thursday.
Yeah,
And
but for right now, they're using the back gate.
yeah, but as far as water goes, we were able to shut the water off to the school with the faculty in there with open communication. But it's a definite no. If there's students in the school, they can't go without water.
Right.
So,
Yeah, just on the stabilization issues, certainly the bank needs to be restabilized relative to that. But they did open up catch basin number 5, which has already been installed there, but had been plated. So they have opened that up so that any water that's coming out of the corner of Pine Street, School Street is actually dumping into that
Okay.
basin
And
and
it
going
wouldn't-
into the new drainage in order to alleviate the water rushing down by
But it
where
wouldn't hurt too, is
the
to put a
basement door is.
pile of stone right in behind that catch basin down a little bit.
Yeah,
coming
they've
out
already,
on an angle.
Okay.
Anything
there's
that
stone
does come
and
down,
sandbags
push it
there
out.
now.
yeah, we sandbagged it and then they stoned
Well,
it.
that's the ramp going into the south.
Yeah.
Behind that catch basin, like with putting a pile of stone
Yep, they've
off
got,
the wall out a little bit to force anything out onto that road instead of down the edge.
great. Yeah, well, as you know, water goes the path of least resistance, so
Yeah, that's right.
that way, so.
Very good.
I wish we had come and given you all kinds of hearts and flowers and, these are the
Nothing's ever
issues that
that.
end up happening.
Yep.
Since the 1st of July, we've had close to a little over 7 inches of rain.
Yep.
So, certainly I'm glad I'm not the contractor on the job. My staff has been out steady now with dealing with gravel roads and gravel road maintenance, cleaning sumps, cleaning ditching areas, and we've got miles and miles more to deal with, so.
Ruben, before we let him go, did you have something for Jesus Valley?
Yeah, Jesus
I was
Valley.
up there today
Where are you? On the hill?
on the hill.
Okay, good. So I just mentioned that.
Yeah,
to
I
you.
found that we've got an illegal driveway that's been installed up there, unpermitted driveway. I think that was up by where the mobile home was put in, up there on the right-hand side. It appears I've got to go and meet with John Dever to look at that relative to, it looks like there's actually 2 driveways that access that property. So I'm not 100% sure of that, but I do have that.
I just happened to go up there on Thursday and the road, the hill that only has the 1-lane travel is down to 3/4 of the travel, so. But that's always been a bad hill. Nothing's ever been done to figure out how we're gonna do it, but part of the septic system's right in the right of way too up there, so.
Yeah, right at the very top there. I figured that must have been what was.
I thank you.
Yes, thank you both.
Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you very much. Doing what you're doing.
It sounds like we're gonna see you Wednesday, 4 o'clock. Whereabouts on School Street, Pine Street, are you meeting?
I think we're gonna.
Yeah, we got
The
the
bus loop will
truck
probably be
system.
the best place to.
I didn't know if you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the bus circle there. That's where they set up generally.
that so they can
Probably
come
both
along.
there.
Good. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think
Thank
That way we can look on
Thank you.
site.
That way they can-
Thank you both.
Scott, you might as well stay.
Well, hang on. I'd like to vote
Truck
public
leasing.
input up. So these people can all go home if they instead of wait until the end.
What do you wanna do? I just thought you wanna get your old business out of the way. You only got that one other issue. Should be short.
All right. All right, then we'll move public input up.
Scott,
Join them.
come on back.
Come on up.
Up, down.
I think it's, to me, it's a simple issue.
It is. It is. It really is.
Can save the water department $10,000, so.
I vote yes.
So I did provide you with an updated memo
Yes.
relative to the, and thank you to Chief Heath for sharing the information with me at the last meeting, and I did reach out
That was good.
promptly, and with that situation, it does show a savings to the town relative to the lease. And I have spoken with Grapponi Ford relative to that and made them aware of the situation. They said, no problem. They actually were going to go back to Ford and see it back, find out why their pencil wasn't very sharp, because once again, it's municipal leasing.
Okay.
That way, but my recommendation is for the board to utilize the municipal capital finance out of Allenstown, Pennsylvania, relative to the lease for the water department truck. And
You don't have to come up with it till next year, right?
yeah, the first payment wouldn't have to come up until next year in 2022, which had been what our intention initially had been. And if in fact the board, would consider the rescinding of their previous, extracting it out of the capital reserve fund, that $8,000, and take it out of the operating budget, which was something that was kicked around anyways. This was initially what had been our intention to do
Well, the
so.
8,000 be next year.
That's correct. That would be a budgeted item in the budget, so. I kind of laid out in my recommendation, kind of what the two pieces to the puzzle are. One was approving the financing, and then the second was relative to the change from the finance director could then make that change in her bookkeeping, because we've put.
Well,
these-
actually, you don't need that first payment until January 1st
Right,
anyways.
so we don't have to approve that.
So all we got to do is withdraw the motion on the $8,000.
I make a motion that we allow Mr. Kidman to set up in the finance manager, set up with municipal capital finance, from Allentown, Pennsylvania, for the $40,000 for the 4-year financing of the water truck.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
And I'm not sure if the board wishes to rescind that previous action of.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we rescind our majority vote last week of the $8,061.50 from the capital reserve fund of the water department.
Second.
And
Now coming
Discussion.
from the one.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
I don't think they're getting that.
yeah, so
change.
that transaction needs to come out of that line item that I have the.
But you don't need that line until
You don't
January
need that
1st,
till next
correct?
year.
No, we need that for the down payment.
I thought you had $20,000 for the down payment. That's the way it was
Yes.
originally discussed, because you sold the water department truck. The water department truck to Parks and Recreation, correct, for $40,000?
Yeah.
20,000 was to pay it off. Is that correct?
22,000.
Yeah.
22,000.
You had
The money left over was supposed to be for your down
What you
payment.
needed, 17,000 was
That
supposed to be down
17
payment.
went towards the down payment. The down payment was $25,325.
So you need the $8,000 out of the, okay.
Right. Originally, we were going to take it from the payment when we weren't going to pay it till.
I thought by doing this, you didn't need that other $8,000.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's
This- I
quite all
find-
right, sir.
It has gone back and forth a little bit.
So I'll resend my motion. Did I have a second on that originally? Did I?
Yes, Rock.
Rock?
Yeah, I rescind it. Yeah.
Chairman, make a motion to withdraw the approved motion from last week of $8,061.50 from the CRF Waterworks CRF fund and authorize the amount to be expended from the Waterworks operating budget line 9-4331902.
Is that a motion, Ruben?
Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead. I don't.
Second.
My feeling is it shouldn't be coming out of water department, so my vote would be no. You saw a good truck for less money than what it's worth. It should be coming out of the Parks and Recs that get in the truck, and it should not be coming out of water department.
No, you gentlemen already made an agreement on that sale. You already
Okay.
did a sale on that truck from one department to another. That's, to me, like you're reneging on the deal, so.
No, I'm not reneging on it, because when we did the deal, we weren't taking money out of the water department to pay for the new truck, except for the lease payment. And now as we get down the road here, now you want another $8,000 out of the water. department. It shouldn't be out
I
of
don't,
water
I
department.
really didn't want it to begin with, sir. Now that you took a truck away from them, they need a truck.
Should come out of the Parks and Recs or Building Grounds. Should not come out of Water Department. I disagree with that.
There's already a motion.
Motion, second.
Second.
Seconded. One more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 One no. Guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
We will move. Good boy. Put that up before our report. Public input. Who would like to speak first? Jeez.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
I just wanted to take a few minutes. I came up tonight because, we had a department head meeting, talked about the personnel manual proposal going up in front of the board. And I listened to the conversation a little bit. There's just a couple of few things I wanted to touch on. First of all, the conversation, I know the health insurance is going to come up at a later meeting. But I listened to the conversation back and forth and I understand Ruben's point, about the health insurance and the low contribution. But the one thing I really do think that the board needs to understand and look back on is the progression of events leading up to here. We need to go back at least 10 years. Because I understand that the employees are not being asked to pay a high contribution on insurance, but they've already lost a 2% merit check that they got every year. That's 2% that was gone from their pay. That was immediately in the personnel manual. Then we changed the method of pay from the step and wage increase to the high max min, which what that did is created a little bit of instability when it comes to COLAs and merit, because now that changes every year. And the other big important thing that I would like you guys to understand or remember when you're making your decisions is a better way to put that, is that the board also opted not to pay COLA this year. So the employees are not getting COLA. They're only getting a merit. But if they get hit on the other side with a health insurance increase, it's going to wash that right out. And this is in 20 years, this is one of the highest CPI indexes, which is what we base our COLA off of, that I've seen in 20 years. It's up over I think it's 4.2% this year.
4.6.
4.6. So I was a little bit off. So that's the CPI this year. And we usually base our COLA off of that. So these are things leading up over the last years that are going to be sitting in the employees' minds when we get to health insurance. And again, I don't want to beat it down because I know we're going to have more conversations about it. I know they're working very hard in the admin office to bring other companies in. And I've sat through and gotten the information on all those meetings, and I have talked a little bit more offline too. And it looks very promising. I just, based on the conversation tonight, I felt I needed to at least lay that out for the board to consider. And the only other thing that I'll let you know is there was a little bit of talk about the paragraph when you talk about the weeks, the 40 hours worth of pay for 20-year veterans. Now, there's only 3 of us, I think, right now that are over 20 years right now, but there's more that are climbing. The reason that was originally established, again, we're going way back, okay? And the reason it was in 2 different sections is our personnel policy was set up so that on milestone markers, you got another week's vacation. Right. 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. So moving forward in the progression, they felt mainly 99%, I think all 100% of your salaried employees right now are department heads. So the town felt that going further with vacation time that we couldn't do without our department heads couldn't take that much time off. So in lieu of the week's vacation is where the 40-hour check came in. And for hourly employees and for salary employees, because it was in substitution for that week's vacation. The percentage merit was completely separate because hourly employees were getting a 2% merit, which I said was taken away. what was originally a benefit to the hourly employees. Salary employees had that sliding scale of 2%, 3%, 4%, depending on how many years you've been with. And again, the intent was to, instill loyalty and longevity with the employees, because you get more bang for your buck the longer people stay here, because you invest more time and training into them. So those are just two things during the conversation that I really wanted to be able to speak upon and share that information with you. But thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Without getting into that part right away, what's the change order that was approved by the Board of Selectmen to rip that side of School Street up? I'm sorry, that was not in discussion. I was right there. I walked through it with these people. I knew exactly what was done. The engineer knew exactly what was going to be done. Why was it ripped out? Is there any rhyme or reason why it was done? And the only thing I heard, it was a change order. Who approved the change order on that side of the road? The only thing it was supposed to take out was the bituminous curb, and then a granite curb was supposed to be put down that side. That was it. No digging the embankment back, no removing the rocks, except for right where the curb was, but not digging anything back. But anyway, that's the road agent side of things that I'm no longer have to deal with. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. But I think the chief pretty much hit part of what it is about the personnel policy. Remember, I said something about taking benefits away. And I was part of the negotiation team that sat down with the town administrator at that time and discussed this week's vacation that was paid after January 1st. So when you got your regular time put on the books, your vacation time, after 20 years, there was a check written. I received it every year after 20 years. So if you're not going to do it anymore, then I think you ought to grandfather it to the people that are existing. And I like your comment, Ruben, about the grandfather. The other thing I'd like to know, what's the actual cost of the deductible to the town? You may say right now it's $9,000 is deductible and the town's paying $7,500, but is it actually paying $7,500? How many people actually collect the maximum? Let's not convolute that and say you're going to put it into an operating budget because you got 5 married personnel, so you're going to put $7,500 a piece in there or whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden they don't use it. So out of $100,000 bill, are we paying $20,000 of that deductible out of all the employees in the town? I guess that's what I think the board ought to really look at. What are we actually paying out? I didn't collect anything out of it for 20 some odd years until I had my knees done. That's the only time I've ever maxed out on anything. And that was in my 26 year of work here. So what's the actual cost? Not what's the verbal definition of it. What is the actual cost to the town? That's what I'd like to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're each other's supports. Hi, my name's Candy DeRocha. I live on School Street. And I just wanted to say, I'm very thankful that you guys are all taking this very seriously and having a meeting with this company that's come in and that won this bid to do the School Street, Church Street project, because as homeowners on that street, we've seen some pretty horrific things. Like you said, the roads being left, wide open. You worry about the kids, falling in, you worry about other things that are going to happen. We constantly have people coming down the street that don't live on the street. And they're just trying to figure out where the heck to go. They go around the school and then they have to back up and go back up the street. Another thing is that the dust that they have created. Now, I know it's nowhere near as bad as what Mr. Connellison and Mrs. Connellison is dealing with, but the dust is unbelievable. I mean, Friday, it was just crazy. It looked like a buffalo herd had gone through there every single time one of those tractor trailers were going through there, and they weren't going very slow to keep the dust down. I don't know what the plan is to keep the dust down, but it's ridiculous. I mean, the windows that I have on my house are brand new and they are covered in mud. So I'm just saying that, we're just glad that you're taking this stuff seriously and you have a meeting with them and get some of this stuff rectified. And the other point that we had was that
With sidewalks,
we're, the sidewalks are
we're gonna talk about that too. Are they gonna, is this same company gonna do the widening of the road and the sidewalks and everything?
Yeah, this start to finish on the job.
Sidewalks will be subbed out to.
Yeah, tri-state.
That's the curbing.
Just curbing.
Okay, because this company has done such a piss poor job so far that it's very concerning what they're gonna do when they have to widen and put the sidewalks in. And everyone is really concerned with how far over, because of what took place over at Cornelison's. That wasn't on the original plans of what we saw. Now the concern is, how far over are you really gonna be going into everyone's yards to put these sidewalks in? What is the exact plan now? How many parking spots are going, because we're hearing different stories. How many parking spots are going up in front of the vet's office? And as a matter of fact, why is the vet getting 4 parking spots that the taxpayers have to pay for? Why is that a thing? Now, where is the rest of the parking spots going in front of the school, and why is the crosswalk being moved? Those are all things that have come to our attention that have changed, that weren't on the original plan when we saw the walkthrough. So I'd kind of like to see what the plan is right now. I think that everyone on our street and Pine Street and Church Street would like to see what the current plan is and what's supposed to be going on, because none of us are aware of these changes that have taken place.
Okay, the plans are available at Town Hall any day.
Okay,
Come in, ask the town administrator for them, or set up an appointment with the town administrator. You can come in and see those plans.
okay,
Plans were available at the last hearing we had, the final plans. Candy, I think you were at that meeting.
I was at that meeting.
And so everything, nothing from that point has changed, except for we're hearing tonight, there was a change order on Pine Street and School Street at the
Mhm.
Canelsons. I was not even aware of that change order.
okay.
None of us.
Let's see, understand
None
where
of
our
us were aware of
concern
that.
is. If that was a change that no one knew about, then our concern is, are there more changes that we don't know
Then
about?
when I looked at the plan, I must have missed that catch basin that was at that corner, because it was my impression, like Mr. Roberts, nothing on that left side was gonna be touched until you got down to the second house when the cross rock would be there for the sidewalks. As far as the sidewalks on your road, nothing should be changing there unless measurements were not right. That's the only thing I can assume. But maybe the board can meet with all the residents over there on an afternoon.
Well,
Any change, we should have been notified on.
But Scott is saying there was no change.
I know.
On the
I know.
final
So-
plan, it was-
So nothing was approved and that shouldn't have happened.
so, I mean, I almost think that there needs to be, before they try to go and put in, because you can't make the changes after they already start that work. So it seems to me that it would be appropriate to have a meeting with the selectmen or whoever to walk through there, to look at where exactly. And now that we have so many people in here at this meeting because of these concerns, I mean, because once the work started, now everybody is concerned. Because, I mean, not everyone has access to, or is on Facebook or whatever social media to know what's going on a regular basis unless they walk out their door. So the bottom line is, if we, now that everyone is here, if they're aware that there's going to be a meeting and everyone that can attend can do a walkthrough and see visually, okay, now that the road is dug up, okay, this is how far over we got to go. I think that would be beneficial and helpful to everyone on our streets.
And one other point is that I think Courtney's done a really good job of trying to notify as many people as she could to let us know. I mean, we knew going into that the water, we were going to have, but I think she's done a really good job trying to notify us as much as possible. We knew things were going to go awry, and we're not, crazy mad about that. What we're crazy mad about is the things that we're seeing that are happening on our street that just should not be happening. To me, it's total neglect, and it shouldn't be happening.
And
Especially if these people are professionals. This is just non-professional work that I'm seeing being done.
I mean, I don't know if part of what, the water goes off and the water, we've had the leaks and we dealt with them and listen, they have been right on top of it. Because I don't think we had any water shutoffs that lasted longer than an hour.
And was 1 week we had like for 3 days in a row, it seemed we had at least 2 shutdowns a day because of a leak. And, and it's okay. We figured, we worked through that. But what we have found, at least at our place, and I don't know, but it sounded like as soon as the water came back on, it sounded like pipes were going to explode in our house in the bathroom. And then we had a problem with the water running in the toilet. So you'd have to manually shut it off and work through that until it's, running right. Now we know that at some point we're going to have to drain our water heaters because they're going to be loaded up with silt and sand from all of this turning on, turning off. And I don't know if everybody else realizes that could end up being a concern too. And where they may not have any pressure, they may have to look at their aerators and clear their aerators out, or their screens where the water comes into the house. And I don't know that everyone knows to do that. But these are things that we're looking at, moving forward that we're going to have to do. And that's going to be time consuming and a royal pain in the butt. But just saying that that's one extra thing that we have to think about. But outside of that, I think our water department has done an excellent job in trying to maintain and keep things going as smoothly as possible. I can't give them enough credit. I mean, being out there at 10:30 at night, running those machines, it's just crazy. I mean, I don't have little kids anymore, but I know there are people on the street that do. And that work during the day. I mean, you're just hearing the trucks backing up and beeping and the thing going off. It's 10 o'clock at night. Granted, it was an issue. We know that, but that's a little bit concerning too. I mean, they just need to be addressed. And and I'm really glad that you are going to be addressing that with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say I'm not a brain surgeon, but I kind of watching these guys work and I'm thinking potties didn't have to have. They could have very easily drove some cofferdam panels.
Bob, you gotta say your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bob Varney, on School Street. If you gotta work that close to something, even the pole, if you protect that area with a cofferdam panel, you can dig all you want. You ain't gonna have any problem. They still gotta do a lot more work there. They're still gonna be trying to tie in that other pipe. So they're still messing around with that corner. Do something to protect it. It just seems to me like I said, I'm not a brain surgeon. I don't do this stuff every day, but I've seen a lot of it done. And it doesn't make sense if these guys don't seem to know how to fix their problems when they run into them. It kind of makes me concerned when they say they're gonna be done putting this drainage in at such and such a time. I have a hard time seeing they're gonna get that done all before September.
Yes, there's definitely some preventative measures that should have been taken before any excavation on that corner should have been done, if any at all.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and but these guys are supposed to be the professionals doing this stuff, but it's kind of like, what?
Not acting very professional at all.
That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Lauren Carr.
Even one.
I would suggest, instead of meeting with this contractor, you're having all this trouble with, perhaps down at the town shed, perhaps you ought to have it up here. More of a formal meeting that you're not happy with what's going on. There's not much room down there at the town shed office. And if any of these individuals want to come in here and listen to what's going on, it would be better in here. Plus, you could have a secretary take minutes of what's said at this meeting. I think it would also help to have a list of, I guess it wouldn't be a punch list, but a deficit list, of what she talked about tonight, so you can tell them exactly what your issues are. So we'll be a little more formal. You may have a little more weight with someone this issue with the contractor. Thank you.
Actually, meetings at the school where the bus goes in and out. That's where it's going to be a site meeting at the solid director. Yeah. Highway director and the water superintendent are meeting there. Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock down at the school.
But I thought there was a motion you were going to post it because you people might want to attend.
I recommended that to be a posting made in case more than 2 selectmen showed up at that
Yes.
site walk. They needed to post that so nobody would holler that we're having a meeting and making decisions. So there is a meeting, a site visit with Scott and
Yeah.
Courtney, with the contractor down there.
Yeah.
And then I had suggested maybe 2 selectmen be there at that meeting to hear what was going on. And the Virgil, I think we all ought to go. So all recommended that we should post in case 5 show up there or more than the majority.
So okay, you're going to walk with
We're gonna,
the 2 people and look at the water issue? Or you're going to talk to them of what?
the public works director and the water superintendent is going to go over the issues and the problems they're having down there with the contractor to
Yeah.
find out what's going to happen. That's what their meeting is about, a site walk on Wednesday.
The only thing about that is, it's like a he said, she said issue. If you don't sit down with them and actually say, why isn't this being fixed?
But they also want to see on the site what's going on and what's not going on. And that's why Courtney and Scott are meeting with them. Just like any construction site, you'd go out and see what's going on at the site. Virgil,
Listed here to go over with them.
Virgil,
Okay.
Courtney, and raise their hand to you.
So
See you.
this meeting was scheduled between,
But they can use my pen.
yeah, was scheduled between the contractor and ourselves as an active site visit with an invitation for them to join us,
Mhm.
because there's discussion that needs to be hand-on, limits of work, specific drainage issues, specific backfilling issues that needs to be conducted on site. If I'm correct, we extended that invitation to you, but we are already having this meeting
Yes.
regardless, because it is specific to certain scenarios that we need to meet and discuss where we're going with it.
Okay, but now how is it not going to be, as I said, he said, she said? Is somebody going to be taking minutes at that meeting? Because, the first thing they're going to say is, well, you never brought that up. I don't remember that. What do you have to support that you brought this up in front of this?
Well, I guess that could be up for debate with any time that I discuss anything with the contractor on that site.
Well, it sounds like
Every
it's
day.
gotten pretty well out of control after having all these issues.
No, we pretty much get them fixed right away. It's just ongoing issues that we're reporting to them. They're not invited to just keep taking on negligently. They're corrected while I'm there. They don't just backfill when something's wrong. They fix it. What I brought to them was an update as far as the issues that are going on.
Mhm.
So this is, a hands-on progress meeting
It
that
just-
we,
Yeah,
It's standard in the industry.
so we chose not to,
Right.
yeah, so we chose not to have planned progress meetings. We tried to keep the cost down with the engineer without getting them on site to call them in when we feel fit. So that's what this meeting is for, is for us to regroup. How much pipe have we gotten in? What do we plan on doing tomorrow? What's our schedule of work? It's a progress meeting that is done in the industry most times daily. So,
I just, when you talked about the insurance, you may have to go back to insurance.
That's what these notes are for, as part of that meeting.
They're doing it right for
So
you.
they're gonna
No,
be-
she's doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laurie.
Anybody else?
Say my name.
Yes, you do.
Kathleen Nygaard, 52 Pine Street. I'm just here to support the whole neighborhood. I don't want to repeat anything, but just to reiterate that safety all around that area is a big concern. The way that the excavators are being operated, holes in the road, being waved through. I'll back up and go around. I'm not chancing it. And then another thing is some of the road closure signs are somewhat confusing. Church Street, maybe not today, days ago says closed. The detour is pointed down, but then you look down the road, it looks like it's passable, but it's not.
Same thing with School Street. It appears to be passable, but it's only passable to the post office. Or from my house, it's only passable so far up. So just that's another issue and somewhat of a safety issue, because I don't want to think I can go down that road to be met with a giant excavator backing up, having no idea I'm there. So. So just that, and I would like to say thank you to the water department for listening to everybody's complaining, but we know you're doing your best. We know you're doing your best, but we appreciate it. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else? Right, seeing none, we will move on.
Have none from this week, sir.
No, mine was just taken care of.
Not for this one. None for me this week. Town administrator report.
No report.
We have no minutes to approve.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Making that motion.
Thanks, guys. That was relatively.
Thank you very much. Bye, Kathleen.
Yeah, I was.